Welcome to the Howie Carr Show. If you'd like to join us, the number is, as always, toll-free, 844-500-4242. That's 844-500-4242. President Trump just vetoed the resolution to terminate the national emergency on the border, and that was passed by the Senate yesterday. 12 Republican senators, over just about a quarter of them, joined with all of the Democrats to try to stop this. And of course, he vetoed it. It was just a resolution, so it didn't really matter. But 12 Republicans did defect. Joining us now on the line is Ann Coulter. She's usually with us on Monday, but she was otherwise occupied. She was making a speech in Palm Beach on Monday, so we have her with us here on Friday afternoon. And Ann, the first question I have to ask you is, of course, about the tweet that the president sent out last weekend, and he called you a wacky nut job. Have you recovered from that that needle yet?
I think I am in excellent company. I'm glad I'm on the president's mind. I suppose he's right to call those of us who believed him crazy.
Well, Ann, but
to be his point.
And the reason I started out by
not have believed those crazy promises. He said he'd crack down on immigration, deport illegals, overturn Obama's unconstitutional amnesty for dreamers, build a wall, a big beautiful wall. He'd bring in the planks on flatbed trucks. Oh, he described over and over again how that wall was going to get built. And yes, I believed him. He is now telling me that was crazy to believe him.
But Ann, we keep going over this every week. I mean, he's a party of one in Washington, and the fact that the 12 Republicans defected on this national emergency, which, as you know, this is the number one issue for most of the country, not just Republicans.
Yeah.
And the people who stood by him are now suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Cory Gardner, for instance, the senator from Colorado. He was excoriated today in an editorial in the only paper, or the biggest paper in his home state, the Denver Post. I mean, it doesn't really matter what the Denver Post says, but it shows what they're doing. They said we made a mistake endorsing Cory Gardner. He stuck with the president, so I guess we screwed up by endorsing him 5 years ago. This is what he's up against. It's Donald Trump versus the world. I mean, I think, Ian, I know, you call people like me and most of my listeners flatterers in that speech in West Palm on Monday. But, he has no allies in the swamp. He's all by himself.
Yes, we knew that when he was running. That's why he won more votes than any Republican in primary history. And look, if he keeps his promises, I'll be right there back with him. But the promise wasn't, I will do these things unless it's hard. He has had opportunities. He has repeatedly not only blown these opportunities, but worse than that, Howie Carr, and I say this in defense of people like me who wrote In Trump We Trust, and also to stick a finger in the eye of the never-Trumpers sneering, you really thought he was going to keep any of his promises? Well, no, actually he has kept promises on the courts, and that is vastly more complicated. Now, how did he become the president who has appointed better Supreme Court justices than any president in your or my lifetime? No Harriet Miers, no David Souters, not even a John Roberts in there.
Well, but Ann,
wait, still talking, still making an important point.
I got my point after.
Point.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, how did he do it? Because he asked for the advice of the Federalist Society. The equivalent of what he is doing on immigration is if he had asked for advice from the ACLU on which judges to appoint.
Now,
he willfully hired Mark Short, Amnesty Koch brothers guy; Mercedes Schlapp, Amnesty Koch brothers gal; Pence, Amnesty guy; Mick Mulvaney, Koch brothers Amnesty guy. I mean, his entire White House is full of people who are working against his agenda. The reason people like us believed him Because he was a guy who could get things done. And how did he get things done? By sending someone to negotiate in Scotland for that golf course, massively opposed. A lot of his building projects were opposed. He sends people to negotiate who aren't against him.
The difference is the entire conservative movement wanted to make sure there would never be another Souter, let alone another Roberts. So they were behind him. The Republican,
the public wasn't behind him on immigration.
No, but was Paul Ryan behind him? He was the Speaker of the damn House.
Was Paul Ryan behind him on picking Kavanaugh? And, what difference does that make? No, I promise you there are more Americans who care about immigration than who care about the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but the thing is,
people in both cases. He farms it out to the ones who can get it done. In one case, he farms it out to people who are precisely opposed to his agenda. Why would you ever hire Mark Short or Mick Mulvaney or Mercedes Schlapp if you had any interest in or keeping Jared Kushner and Ivanka around?
Why would he keep Ivanka? Well, maybe he keeps Ivanka around because she's his daughter. Come on, Ann. I mean, you can't.
Because every president hires his relatives. That's very common and highly respected. We always expect politicians. No, if only he had said that during the rallies, it would have saved me the trouble of writing in Trump We Trust. Don't worry, Jared Kushner will be running everything, and we're going to move that embassy.
You don't think that he wants to build a wall? You don't think that he understands that if he can get this done, if he can sort of move the ball, he's going to be reelected easily, and that this. That's
what I'm hoping to remind him of. Look, what he wants in his heart is irrelevant. Has he built a wall? Has he repealed Obama's unconstitutional dreamer amnesty? I mean, that takes no work at all. Nothing. That takes 10 seconds of his time, and there's nothing Congress can do about it. Nothing Congress can do if he promises every time he needs our votes. He promises he's going to have an executive order ending the anger baby scam. I mean, some things he does need to work with Congress on. He does need to be LBJ and apply pressure. Most of the things he promised, as I pointed out in Trump We Trust, what was so brilliant about his campaign, 90% of his promises he does not need Congress for. They are 100% within the power of the president.
Well, he just was
hasn't
talking,
done those, and then I look at the people around him.
He was talking about just now when he vetoed this ridiculous resolution from Congress that we have horrible asylum laws. I mean, one of the things that's really screwing things up is that the ACLU, La Raza, all of the open borders crowd have figured out that this asylum loophole is the biggest scam going, and they're all claiming asylum. And how the hell is he going to get? How's he going to change the asylum laws with most of the Democrats in the House belong in an asylum, an insane asylum?
Well, yes, that's something like repealing Obamacare he needs Congress for. There may be some things he can do around the edges, and also he can build a wall. I mean, they can't very well apply for asylum if they're on the other side of the wall and they have no one to present their lying stories to. But yeah, some things he needs Congress for. If he hired people who knew how to get it done, he could get it done. I mean, consider this is just off the top of my head, and I'm not someone working in the White House, nor do I want to work in any White House or work.
Don't worry about it. When the phone don't ring, you'll know it's Donald J. Trump.
Let me ask you, why hasn't he hired Chris Kobach? To this day, the one man who knows more. He wrote E-Verify. He's brilliant. He knows more about immigration than anyone in the country. To this day, he has not hired Chris Kobach. No, I'm going to turn this over to the Koch brothers shills. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to keep saying we need more workers, more workers. After that whole thing with Disneyland,
he hired
and the
Steve
H-1B
Miller, didn't
workers,
he? You like Steve Miller, don't you?
Okay, that's one of about 1,000 executive branch employees.
Steve Miller's the old Jeff Sessions aide, who's really good, and he's just superb on immigration, and he's a Duke guy. He fought the Duke lacrosse frame-up.
Somehow that didn't stop Trump from saying over and over again that we need more workers. More workers. We're going to bring them in. Yeah, that's great for the employers. It's great for the Koch brothers. It's not good for people who work for a living. It's not good for the people already here.
I'm not really in favor of that, but that's not the real problem with the immigration system, is it? The H-1Bs.
There are a lot of problems, and he's not doing any of it.
The biggest problem is the unwashed masses coming across the southern border. Correct?
I think I'm out in L.A. now. I think in San Bernardino they might disagree with that. At the Orlando nightclub they disagree with that. I mean, basically all of the terrorism in America has been committed by legal immigrants. Everyone thinks that this, or a lot of people think that this difference between legal and illegal means legal are the ones we like. They're the ones that Trump talks about. Good talker, good line. I like it when he says we want to bring in people who are going to contribute, love us, love our country. No, that's not really the dividing line. Since 1970, 90% of immigrants have come from the third world, and as documented in Adios America, an awful lot of them don't really care for America. So this legal-illegal thing, you got to get it out of your head. But yes, illegal immigration, massive, enormous problem. It all has to be dealt with. So much of this he could do on his own.
And have a good weekend, you wacky nut job, you.
Right back at you, Howie.
I'm Howie Carr.
He's the